Hello and welcome to Learn Data. It's great to have you on this channel. I'm Nilesh and in this video we'll continue to learn about time zones in Pandas. So we'll look at what is ambiguous time and how to handle it, how to handle non-existent time, and then how to get all the time zones using the pytz and the dateutil library. If you are unsure about how the daylight saving time works, I'd suggest going back 2 3 videos and looking at the intuition video where I describe what is daylight saving time, what is TZ database, ambiguous and non-existent times in with a diagram. So let's get into Jupyter notebook now and start coding. Here I have imported 5 libraries and these are the versions. Important point to remember here is that to use the fold argument, so to use fold argument in the to that accounts for the time, the daylight saving time manipulations, you need to have a pandas version of 1.1.0, otherwise it's not going to work. So if you do not have that, I'd suggest upgrading the pandas version if that's possible, and then running this code with the fold argument. Now let's first go ahead and create a timestamp. So pd a is equal to pd dot timestamp, and we'll use the datetime dot datetime. Year is equal to 2020, month is equal to 11, and the reason why this is 11 is because that's when the daylight saving time ends, and in 2020 it's November 1st, and that's what we are using here. And the hour is set to 1 minute, is set to 30, and there is a reason for that, and that's because when the daylight saving time ends, the clock at 2 a.m. is turned back 1 hour, so it's 1 o'clock again. So the time of 1:30 a.m. occurs twice. The first time it occurs before the clock is turned back, and the second time it occurs is after the clock is turned back. So that's why we are going to work with that particular time. Tz is equal to, we'll use the dateutil to set the time zone to US Eastern, because that's where this particular date is valid. Fold is equal to 0, and what the fold is equal to 0 does is it's going to refer to the time before the clock is turned back 1 hour at 2 a.m. And when we now go ahead and look at a, this is function missing required argument day position 3, so this should be day. Now as you can see, this is the timestamp we have, and if you notice this is -4. Now if we copy this and just make one change, I'll change set this to variable b and change this to fold 1. Now if we look at the timestamp, we see this is -5. So when it's fold 0, it is referring to the time before the clock is turned back 1 hour, and when we are looking at fold is equal to 1, it is the same time 1:30, but now it is referring to that time after the clock is turned back. And so that's why this extra 1 hour we see here. Now we can convert this to UTC, so a dot tz underscore convert, and let's go ahead and convert to UTC, and that's the time we have. Now b dot tz underscore convert to UTC, and again this is the time we have. So as you can see, there is a difference of an hour between those two timestamps. Now let's go ahead and create another case of ambiguous timestamps. So these are called ambiguous timestamps. Ambiguous time. Ambiguous time. So here we'll create another date time index. So date time index a is equal to pd dot date time index, and we'll assign it couple of dates. So 2020 dash 11 dash 01, and this is 0000, and this is going to include the daylight saving time as well. So we have 2020 dash 11 dash 01. Now we'll change the hour to 1, and this is the ambiguous time because the 1 o'clock occurs twice when the clock is turned back and before the clock is turned back. Next 2020 dash 11 dash 01, and again we'll use 01 hour, and after this we'll use 2020. So we'll use 2020 dash 11 dash 01, and here we'll use 02 hours. So that's the date time index we have created. And here we can, if we now try to add a time zone to this, so a dot tz underscore localize, and here if you say US Eastern, it's going to throw an error. And the reason is because we are trying to we are using cannot infer daylight saving time from this, and the reason is because the 1 o'clock it occurs 2 times, and therefore it is suggesting us to use the ambiguous argument in this case. So to use the ambiguous argument, what we want to type is ambiguous here, and then we can set it to couple of values. So first let's try infer. So what infer does is it automatically tries to find appropriate value and puts it in the output. So for these two timestamps where it says 1, we get these values. So the first one is -4, and the second one is has -5 in there, and same thing. So this one is 00 is also having the -4. Now here we can also ask it to raise an NAT or raise TZ underscore localize US Eastern, and when we type US Eastern and then type the ambiguous is equal to NAT. So here the time that were ambiguous now gets converted to not a time. In addition to this, we can also specify true or false. So a dot tz underscore localize US Eastern, and here if we specify ambiguous is equal to true, ambiguous is equal to, we can provide a list. So let's say true, 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 and then we have false, false. So as you can see, if it is true, then this is set to the time that is before the clock hits, clock is turned back. So we have -4, and then this one has -5. So this would be the time after the clock is turned back. So this could be equivalent of the fold 1, whereas this would be equivalent of fold 0. Now moving on, let's look at non-existent time. So non-existent time occurs when that time does not happen, and that happens in the month of March when the clock is moved 1 hour forward. So at 2 a.m. for the 2 a.m. the clock is moved forward by 1 hour. So if it's directly 3 a.m., So the time between that, so 2:30, let's say for example, does not exist. We can go ahead and create a date range again. So a is equal to pd dot date underscore range, and here we'll use the date of March. So 2020 dash 03 dash 08. That's when the daylight saving time starts in 2020, and 02 hours and 30 minutes, that's the time that's not going to exist. So periods is equal to 3, frequency is equal to h, and then we have, so that's the date range we have. And now we'll try to add a time zone to this to localize it. So tz underscore localize, let's say US Eastern, and now we'll go ahead and if we run this without anything, we are going to get an error which is non-existent time error, and therefore we can also specify non-existent is equal to raise, so we get error here. Now instead of raise, if we specify NAT, not a time, then in the output the time that does not exist is replaced by NAT, and as you can see 2:30 is replaced by NAT. In addition to this, we can also specify shift forward. So when we are shifting forward, the nearest time would be 3 a.m. and so we should see 3 a.m. there, and that's what we see. Similar to shift forward, we can use shift backward, and the nearest time then would be 1 and 2 a.m. and so we have 1:59:59, so almost 0.9999, so it's almost 2 a.m. So that's how to handle a non-existent time and ambiguous time in Pandas using the pytz and the dateutil library. Let's also look at a couple more examples. So I'm going to go ahead and create few cells. Alright, so here if let's see how we can get all the time zones using each of these libraries, and I've already shared this code in one of the slides in the intuition video, but here we'll try to implement it. So we have already imported the pytz library, but if you have not, then you would have to run this line, import pytz, and then y is equal to pytz dot all underscore time zones, and then if you want to run y, here you get all the time zones that are listed. And if you look at the length of y, so if you check length y, then you can see that there are almost 593 time zones listed in there. Next, to use the dateutil, we need to import libraries again. So dateutil dot zone info import get zone info file underscore stream, and then we also need to get zone info file with a capital Z, capital I, and a capital F. So once we have that, we can create a variable x and type zone info file, and within parentheses get zone info file underscore stream, and get the zones from that. Now if we print x, we get the zones, so this is like a dictionary. So what we can do is we can get the list of keys, so list x dot keys, and then we can sort it, so x dot sort, and then we can look at x. So that's how we can get all the list, similar to what we got above. Now if we look at the length of x, we'll see that this length is different. So this is 595 instead of 593. So each of these packages have different uniqueness, and depending on the need, you probably want to choose one or the other. Now moving on, let's once again look at how to use the fold using timestamp. So we're trying to use the fold argument for the ambiguous timestamp. pd.timestamp, and here we specify year is equal to 2020, month is equal to 11, we have day is equal to 1, hour is equal to 1, and then you can specify time zone is equal to dateutil backslash us backslash eastern, and then we have fold is equal to 0. So here this needs to go in quotes. So dateutil us eastern, so dateutil us eastern, uh, that's my mistake. Okay, so this is the timestamp we have created. So this is a fold 0, and then we can create the similar one with a fold is equal to 1, as you can see here. Now this was using the dateutil library. What if we need to use the pytz library? So for that, using pytz we cannot use fold, and so the alternative is to use tz underscore localize. So us, let's say us is equal to pytz dot time zone us eastern, that's what we are going to use. Then pd dot timestamp, again we have year is equal to 2020, month is equal to 11, day is equal to 1, hour is equal to 1, and then we specify tz is equal to, sorry, and then we specify here tz underscore localize, and within this we can specify us, and because we know there is ambiguous time in there, we can specify ambiguous is equal to true for this one, and then we can copy paste this, and here we can say false. So when we run these, we see that the two timestamps are created. They are similar output as what we had before with the fold. So we have -4, -5, -4, -5 for 1st of November. So that's another way to handle the ambiguous time. I hope in this video you learn how to use the ambiguous time and to create either timestamp or date range, how we can use the fold argument or the ambiguous is equal to true argument, also how we can handle the non-existent time when the daylight saving time starts. In the next video we'll look at a couple more aspects of time zone. Please like, share and subscribe. Hope to see you all in the next video. Thank you.